Hello and welcome to everyone. This is how to outsmart overwhelm. This is a word I've heard a lot lately. People are feeling very overwhelmed, and this is a very stressful time to be alive. It's an amazing time to be alive, but there are a lot of things going on, and there's a lot of changes in society, changes in the world that we all need to keep up with. So there's a lot going on that we need to keep up with, and we have to constantly evolve as we're going through. So how many have felt like this, where you're kind of chewing on that pencil and getting angry at a computer screen over zeros and ones? But we have kind of reframed lions and tigers and bears into emails and statuses and different issues where it's not necessarily life threatening, but our brain is a very old operating system. So it has a very similar response to lions and tigers and bears. And oftentimes we have a seatbelt on, so we can't expend any of that energy. So we just have to learn to evolve with it. And a lot of people are, when they feel overwhelmed, they kind of get in that paralysis mode where they feel there's so much going on. I have no idea where to start. There's just so much weight on my shoulders. I'm going to go take a nap, which every once in a while, that's the right answer if you are exhausted and you need to have a nap and rest so that you can focus. But I see a lot of people, and I've been guilty of it as well, of there's so much to do. I don't know where to start, so I don't do any of it. And that is not a productive place to be. So I wanted to share with you some tools and tactics and mindset to help get away from that overwhelm and prevent it in the future, because that really is the key. We do a lot with stress reduction when it comes to breathing exercises, but I view those more as short-term band-aids after a problem has happened. I want to help you to reframe things so that way you don't need those band-aids, you don't need those stitches, you don't have to deal with those problems. Let's do everything we can to prevent those. So I'm not saying that every day is going to be, feet on a dock by the side of a lake, but we can kind of have some of those mental vacations and tools to go to. And every once in a while, it really is important to have a planned vacation, a planned time to take care of yourself. But oftentimes we find ourselves understanding Clark Griswold a little bit more as each year passes. And if we think back to the National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation, of there's just everything going on, but he has that aggressive optimism and just, I'm going to keep moving forward. I'm going to enjoy this. There's some misadventures along the way, but I just wanted to share Clark Griswold with everybody because I think he's an interesting example of everything being piled onto his plate, yet he still moves forward. He still keeps going. So it's a fun movie, but I think there's a lot there as well. So it's something that kind of stood out to me. I wanted to share with everyone. And the nice thing about overwhelm is it's only 20% strategy, but it is 80% mindset. So I want to cover both of these. I have some action items for everybody in the strategy area, but I want you to go into this with the lens of I'm a learner. I'm going to try something new. I might push myself out of my comfort zone a little bit. And a lot of times we have to push ourselves out of that comfort zone if that comfort zone has become too uncomfortable. Think about somebody that needs to lose weight by going to the gym. Maybe they don't want to go to the gym. Maybe they don't enjoy that, but their current comfort zone has become so uncomfortable that they need to choose a different discomfort. And that is definitely worth it in the long term. So I just want you to go into what we're going to talk about with an open mind to maybe some new strategies. So these are some of the things that I hear from people, from clients, from speaking engagements. A lot of the feedback is, well, I feel overwhelmed. I'm stressed 24/7. I feel just overwhelmed all the time. I feel like I can't keep up with all this work. I feel like I'm stressed 24/7. I feel stuck. I can never catch up. Nobody feels like they're ahead. I can't stop comparing myself to others, which it can be a whole training in itself. In 2020, we have things like Facebook and Instagram, and they're wonderful tools if we use them as tools, but boiled down, especially Instagram, to its simplest form, it is a visual comparison platform. And I just want you to be aware when you're on social media, you are seeing everyone else's highlight reel. You're not seeing them in the bathroom. You're not seeing them you're not seeing as many of the struggles. Some people are better about being transparent about the full journey, but oftentimes you see the highlight reel. You see a really fancy car, but you don't see, hey, the person still owes $20,000 on it. It's not really theirs yet. So comparison is an easy slippery slope into that overwhelm as well. I don't have enough energy. I'm tired all the time. I'm stressed 24/7. So how do we change that? Again, we have to push maybe a little bit of discomfort if that current comfort zone is uncomfortable. And again, I wanted to share with you that you're not alone. I flirted with overwhelm and burnout, and that's why I feel so called to help people with that. My wife and I had a really crazy few years where we had a lot of external circumstances that influenced our life, from the loss of a child to the loss of jobs to buying a lemon vehicle to moving to a new state. A lot of these things that were outside of our control, but we had to respond to those. We had to put on that Clark Griswold smile and keep moving forward. So I just wanted to share with you that you're not alone if you're feeling overwhelmed. This is becoming a very common thing. So I want to do everything I can to help people with that. So again, we're looking at a 20% strategy, 80% mindset. And the nice thing is, maybe some of these solutions are going to be wildly simple and easy to implement, but oftentimes those are the ones that are overlooked. So we'll cover that in a few slides as well. And when you get into that successful mindset, that helps your life, your business, your family. When you take care of yourself and you take responsibility for how you respond to situations, everyone else will benefit. So the three stages I want to cover, and I want to keep this to be a very quick and short actionable training because I'm all about implementation in the moment. Three of the stages we want to go through is assess where we are right now, simplify our lives a little bit, and then delegate. And we can try to use leverage wherever we can to go through those three stages. So we're going to take a quick look at assessing where you are. So time, a lot of people have probably seen this quote from Gandalf of all we have to do is decide what to do with the time that is given to us. And I want to have you give yourself permission to look at time as really the only constant. Everything else is a variable. Your energy is a variable. Money is a variable. What you focus on is a variable. But time is that one thing that is constantly ticking forward. So in any formulas, you have your constants and your variables. Time really is that constant because in reality, there really is no such thing as time management. I've never met anybody that could slow down time or speed up time, but it's how we use that time that is given to us. So as far as a stress level checklist, am I hydrated? Am I eating healthy? Am I moving? I kind of came up with this recently when I thought about our 3-year-old of how many problems stem from such a basic need not being met of, well, he's acting out because he's tired, or he's cranky because he's hungry, or he is short and smashing his toys because he's tired, he's not sleeping enough. And again, we're all just big kids and we have to meet our basic needs as well. So think about the root cause of some of that overwhelm and some of those stresses. Are you eating enough? Are you eating too much? Are you eating the right things? Are you eating real food? A lot of times we know, for most people, we know what we shouldn't be eating, drinking, and doing. It's the implementation of that. Am I moving my body enough? Exercise is a very new word, but we've always just been moving as human beings. So do I need to go for even a quick walk for 10 minutes, 15 minutes? Am I drinking enough water? Am I taking care of myself? Am I focusing on the positive? And am I having fun? Life is meant to be enjoyed. You have to have fun. You have to put yourself on that priority list. So I just wanted to offer you that quick checklist to see where is somewhere that you might be able to make a small change that's going to really leverage and benefit everything else. So action item, assessing how you're using your time. This is a really important one that a lot of people say, well, I don't know where the time has gone, or I don't have enough time for this. I don't have enough time for that. Really, let's take a look at how you're using that. Then you look at those resources of effort, focus, money, again, those variables. One recommendation I wanted to make, this is Brendan Burchard's high performance planner. I used this morning when I was at Starbucks having my coffee and getting ready for the day. It's a wonderful way to track the day, And it's kind of like a planner meets a journal, high productivity, amazing hybrid booklet. This is like 15 bucks on Amazon. I can share the link with anybody that's interested. But it really is vital to track, how am I using time throughout the day? So one thing I made a video on the other day I wanted to share with everybody in here is a smarter to-do list. So a lot of times overwhelm can come from, I just feel like I have way too much to do. So I boiled it down to a very simplistic approach of get everything out of your head and put it on paper. This to-do list could be 20 items long, 200 items long. I want you to get it out of your head and put it on paper. Once it's on paper, I want you to take another piece of paper, or depending on the size of your list, 2 pieces of paper. One is urgent, one is non-urgent. I want you to go through that first list and now redistribute that onto these lists. And then when you can assess what is urgent, what is non-urgent, that's going to help it start to organize in your brain. And then I brought this back from the MySpace days. You have your top 8. What are the top 5 things that are urgent that I need to do now? What are 3 things that I need to do now, but they're in the non-urgent category that would feel really good if I got those done? And then I want you to take a couple sentences just to write how it's going to feel when I complete this, because you want to be going after that feeling of, I'm not overwhelmed anymore. I'm feeling productive. So I just wanted to offer that to everybody. I know it's very simple, but it can be very effective as well. So then moving into simplification, I just want to throw out this example before I forget. If anybody has not yet seen Minimalism on Netflix, it's a wonderful documentary. It's about 1 hour and 15 minutes long, and it helps everybody to focus on the important things in life. It's a documentary, so there's some parts that are a little odd, but I think overall you would really like it. One thing I wanted to share with you that I share with a lot of speaking engagements is a lot of people say, I'm sure I can multitask, I can do this. And yes, I agree that multitasking is a thing. I can walk and chew gum and, have the dog on the leash at the same time. But there's a distinction of you cannot multi-focus. So you can focus on doing one thing at a time. And I try to use the example of somebody that's studying for their career. They're taking classes to be a plumber, and they're also taking classes in English and literature. Those are not moving in them in the exact same direction. So where are you focusing your energy? Where are you focusing your time of climb one mountain at a time and then go from there? So there's a big difference between multitasking and multi-focusing. And I've had a lot of feedback that helps a lot of different people. So I wanted to share that with you in here as well. And the 1% shift, in the spirit of simplification, 1% of the day is 15 minutes. And what I have a lot of people do is shuffle around even a little bit of time to spend 1% of the day on number 1. So something that Robin wants to do for 15 minutes, something that Joe or Ryan say, this is something for me, 15 minutes a day, that is going to make a huge difference on the other 99%. This could be getting up before the kids and reading a little bit of a book, or sitting outside having your coffee. This could be going for a walk. This could be the gym. For everybody, it's different. Some people, it's journaling, meditation. What can you do for 15 minutes? Maybe it's building Legos. Maybe it's coloring with crayons. What can you do for 15 minutes that would be a huge benefit for you for the rest of the day? Another thing when it comes to overwhelm, if you're working on a to-do list or just a project is overwhelming you, you could split things into a control, can't control bucket. And that helps to break it down into bite-sized pieces for yourself as well. So action item number 2 is cell phone simplification. So if everybody could open their phones real quickly, I think you're going to enjoy this one. So when you open your phone, are you greeted with a ton of a screen full of apps and a bunch of notifications, or are you greeted with a picture and the 4 apps that you most commonly use at the bottom? So for everybody else that's on an iPhone, if you hold the icons, you can reorganize your desktop on your phone. So I want you to swipe all of your apps over one screen and put an image there that you enjoy, that puts a smile on your face. This could be your pet, your kid, somewhere you went on vacation, your car, whatever, brings you joy in that little moment. For me, it's a picture of me sitting on the beach up in Maine, 10-degree weather. But for me, that was a warm moment. So that's every time I open my phone, I'm greeted with that. And then once you've done some of that visual restructuring, I want you to also take time to go through some of your alerts and your push notifications on your phone, because these phones are wonderful tools if we're in control of them. But if we're constantly that hamster on the wheel responding to notifications, you're not as much in control of your life. So I want you just to be aware of how many alerts do I get throughout the day from the phone. For me, the only alerts I get are phone calls and text messages. I don't allow Facebook to give me notifications, LinkedIn, Instagram, all these other things, my game. I just want to be in control of my phone. And then in the spirit of delegation, again, a huge one if somebody is feeling overwhelmed. It's easy to compare ourselves to others, and I wanted to just remind you that the Rock and Oprah have the same 24 hours that we do, but we might see on the news or think that we know what their day is like, but we're really just seeing the tip of that iceberg. And we have no idea how other people are using their time. Other people have different levels of resources as well. So I just want you to not compare yourself to others, but compare yourself to where you were yesterday and just get a little 1% better, little bite-sized pieces, baby steps. It's all compound interest. It's going to help you. One thing that's really important when it comes to overwhelm is, and this is kind of in the time management bucket, of setting some healthy boundaries for how much am I using the screens? How late am I staying up on the computer? And there are heavy seasons where you're going to have to stay up late and get stuff done, but you just have to be aware of how much time am I spending there. So setting some healthy time boundaries. Another one is delegate what you hate. We're coming up on tax season. For some people, they hire somebody to do their taxes in the spring. Maybe somebody would come and cut your lawn or come and deep clean the house every once in a while. One thing that I recommend to a lot of expecting parents is to say, it's okay if you have a house cleaner for the first 90 days of a new child. That is perfectly fine. You can delegate that. It does not have to be a forever thing. Use that to help you get away from some of that overwhelm. And then use your buckets. I did a couple different trainings on this, and I won't go real deep, but everything in life can fit in one of three buckets. Can I control this? Can I influence this? Or do I need to let it go? I promise not to break out into song with the last one. So where can you put each thing in your life? So today it's raining outside. I cannot control that, but I can influence my response by having a rain jacket ready to go in my car. And I need to let go looking at the weather and not letting the weather dictate my level of happiness today. So little quick example, because I want to be real strict on my 25-minute limit. And again, focusing on what you can control, what you focus on, what meaning you put to that, what actions you're going to take today. It's important to outsmart overwhelm by not taking on too much, not trying to focus on 4 things at once. Everybody uses the analogy of you try to chase 2 rabbits and you don't catch either of them. So focus on where you're putting that energy. And oftentimes our complex problems require simple solutions. I touched on this earlier of, do I need to eat? Do I need to rest? Do I need to move? Again, we're running on a very old operating system. And if we meet these basic needs, then everything else will benefit. And what I want you to do is take a couple minutes when we get off this call or right now to implement. I've been to far too many workshops and seen far too many webinars where it sounds wonderful in the moment, and then the webinar ends and I go back to my daily life. But implementation is really the key. So here's just some quick suggestions of things that we covered, of that cell phone simplification, or thinking about something, delegating it. If you really hate that thing, if it's a huge time suck for you, where can you leverage other resources? Whether it's redoing that to-do list in a different way, assessing how you're spending your time. Just that awareness raising alone is very powerful. Stop trying to multi-focus, or give yourself those 15 minutes each day. So if this is something that your team needs, I do speak all over the country. This is just the tip of the iceberg in a 25-minute segment. But if there's any way I can help your company, feel free to share my information with human resources. They are usually the ones I'm interacting with to come in as a guest speaker. So if there's any way I can continue to support your team or continue to support you, feel free to send me a message. And again, overarching when it comes to overwhelm, all we have to do is decide what to do with the time that is given to us. So I want you to really focus on that formula, that time is the constant, money, energy, your focus, those are all variables. How are you really utilizing your time? And that will help to outsmart the overwhelm of everything that's going on. Sometimes we have to use the buckets. Sometimes we need to keep the main thing, but it's easy to get overwhelmed. So I hope some of these tools have helped you. So I want to just open up to any, if you want to share a takeaway or open discussion, if you have any questions on anything, I'd love to hear from each person. What was one or more takeaways that you had? I'm going to nominate Ryan because I know he always likes to speak. If you could unmute yourself and just share with the group, I'd love to hear a takeaway. I still can't hear you. You're on mute. And if you're unable, Robin, do you have any takeaways you'd like to share with the group?
Yes, Ryan, this was an excellent presentation. I don't know which one's my favorite takeaway. I'll go with the 1%.
1% for number 1? Okay.
Yes. I think that's my favorite of the takeaways.
Very cool. Very cool. How would you spend that 15 minutes if you were to start this tomorrow?
Well, it's interesting that you say that because I was journaling earlier about my focus is to help others find their superpowers. And I haven't been spending my time focusing on my own superpower as a priority. So you helped me put it as a priority.
Yes.
You're affirming what I was already thinking. And so I'm really glad to have this time to think about that.
Wonderful. Wonderful. Yeah, thank you. And when you take time to focus on your superpower and taking care of yourself, everybody else is going to get a better Robin. So that's awesome. Thank you for sharing that. It's wonderful. Very cool. Joe, if you're able to, oh, there's Ryan. Go ahead, Ryan.
I have a few takeaways. One was the overwhelm. And the second, this actually may be the first one, but the 1%. And I think me and you, or you, Jake, and I, we were all talking about the 1%, just being 1% better every day. And I'm trying to find out, as soon as you said that, I was like, oh, I wonder what 1% of 24 hours is. Is that an hour or 30 minutes? And then applying that for each area of my life that I can improve on just 1% every day. And that brought a lot of inspiration and motivation for me. It's like, okay, cool, I only need to be 1% better, because that compounded over the year is not 365. That's like 3,365, So yeah, that was, I needed to hear that. So I took notes on that, and then just a lot of other things came up from this call. So that was very valuable. Thank you.
Wonderful. Wonderful. Thank you for sharing that. That's great. Joe, are you able to share anything?
Yeah. It goes back to, I think it was what Robin was talking about, and what you said, taking time for yourself and making a priority. And I really try to share that with people, because a lot of people, I did that myself. I started doing that I guess almost a couple of years ago with my own personal training and working out. And I found that once I made it a priority, and once I put it actually in my schedule, and I said, you know what, from 8 a.m. until 9:30 every day, this is my training time. It takes a lot of discipline in the beginning, because there was a lot of other things that came up that I wanted to do. And I had to, have that discipline to say, no, I can't, because I'm doing this training. But once I get into the habit, now it's easy. Now that I've been doing it for a couple of years, it's just, hey, 8 a.m. at this time on this day, I'm training. I'm not doing anything else. And it makes a world of difference, when you prioritize. And it's good for me because I feel better after I train. So, taking that time for me is definitely a good thing. I've also learned to, when I get home in the evenings, unless it's an absolute emergency, I've learned to put the computer away, put work away, and be done for the day. And that helps me, because then I don't feel like I'm going 24/7. I know when I get home at night, 9:30 at night, that's it. Everything is done. It can wait till tomorrow kind of deal. Like I said, unless it's an absolute emergency that I have to do, but that's, that's rare now for me. So that's a good thing. So taking that time for yourself is definitely huge.
Wonderful, wonderful. And so for everybody that doesn't know, Joe is big into karate. So you kind of mastered that mental dojo first, and then everything else falls into place, right?
Yeah.
Very
So,
cool.
yeah.
That's wonderful. Well, thank you so much, everybody, for coming to the training. I appreciate it. If anybody has any further questions or a light bulb you have tomorrow, I'd love to hear about it. So feel free to reach out, Facebook Messenger, or call me, or text me, or email me, or send me a passenger pigeon, whatever's best for you. And I just truly appreciate you taking the time to do this. And just a quick reminder, implement something now before you get back to the normal rhythm. And try to focus on these things next time you're starting to flirt with that feeling of overwhelm or distraction. Where can I use some of these tools and tactics? Thank you, everybody. It's been a wonderful day. Talk to you soon. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thanks, Ryan.
Yeah, thank you all for being here. This was wonderful.